Next Generation 911 is supposed to bring more information into the Emergency Communication Center. Voice, text, video, sensors, crash data, building maps, panic buttons, AI summaries, location feeds, maybe even data coming from satellites, cars, cameras, phones, watches, and devices we have not even thought about yet. Now you might think that sounds great until the ACC starts looking less like a command center and more like a room with a fog machine disco. Lights flashing, screens blinking, alerts popping, data flying across the room, and somebody is pretty sure they saw something very important near the glitter ball. But somewhere in the middle of all of that, a dispatcher is still trying to answer the only question that matters. What the hell is happening and what do we need to do next? Today on TiPS, we want to talk about more data, worse decisions, and why NG911 cannot simply be a bigger bucket for random information. No, it's got to become a trusted decision environment. And that's coming up next on TiPS, Today in Public Safety.
Welcome to TiPS, Today in Public Safety, your go-to podcast for today's breaking stories and public safety news. Here's your host, Fletch, with today's tips.
Welcome back to TiPS, Today in Public Safety. This is Fletch. I'm a NINA certified ENP, and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I bring you the latest in Next Generation 911 news, innovation, and sometimes a little controversy. And yeah, today we're talking about NG911 data overload, artificial intelligence, bad assumptions, decision support, and possibly one of the most dangerous things ever introduced into emergency communications, the metaphorical fog machine. So anybody that knows me knows that this is not going to be an anti-technology episode. At least you better know that. I believe in NG911. I believe in additional data. I believe in smarter workflows, and I believe in information when it's done responsibly. I think that video, text, crash data, building information, telematics, sensors, and AI-assisted tools can all work together to make public safety better. But I also believe this: more information does not automatically create more clarity. Yeah, sometimes more information will give you that better picture, and sometimes it just gives you a brighter, louder, faster moving hot mess. And that's the risk that we need to talk about. Because NG911 is not just about delivering more data into the Emergency Communication Center. It's about delivering the more rigid data, the right data, from trusted sources at the right time, and include enough context and confidence to allow a human to make the better decision. And that distinction matters a whole lot. Data is not awareness. You know, one of the big promises of NG911 is that the ECC or PSAP will no longer be limited to a voice call and a basic location record. And yeah, that's a huge step forward. Instead of simply hearing someone describe a crash, the ECC may receive automatic crash notification directly from the vehicle. We've been doing that for years, thanks to OnStar. Instead of a caller trying to explain where they are inside a large building, with NG911, responders will have access to floor plans, supplemental location, detailed indoor maps, or dispatchable location data. Instead of someone describing a school threat manually or verbally, the ECC is going to receive panic button data, live camera links, staff contact info, and the all-important reunification details, something often forgotten, and building access information. Instead of relying on what the caller can say or what was last updated in the map book, the communications environment is going to be able to provide text, images, video, medical information, environmental sensor data, alarm data, and other relevant context. That is powerful. And powerful is important because it saves time, but here is the catch. Lots of data is not the same thing as awareness. A screen full of information is not the same thing as understanding, and a flashing alert is not the same thing as the truth. Just as a map pin is not the same thing as certainty, AI-generated summaries are not the same thing as actual verified facts, and that confidence score is not the same thing as operational judgment by a human. We've got to be very careful not to confuse the arrival of data with the arrival of clarity, because in the real world, a lot of times data can be wrong, it can be stale, it might be duplicated or incomplete. As technology advances to deliver it, the same technology can also spoof it, or it can come from a system that was never designed for emergency response. And that allows it to be technically accurate, but operationally very misleading. And a lot of times the most dangerous data is not the data that looks broken. That's easy to spot. It's the data that looks clean, polished, coming from the clean interface with a confident summary, that neat little alert box, that map that looks official, and the AI output that sounds like it absolutely knows what it's talking about. You see, that is where the risk lives. Because humans have this tendency to trust systems that look confident, especially when the whole situation is moving fast. Welcome to the fog machine disco. So let's talk about that fog machine in the disco, because that's the image I want you to keep in your head. The ECC of the future has more screens, more feeds, more sources, more alerts, more integrations, and more automation with more real-time data. Now, that can be a command center, or it can become a disco floor. You know, lights flashing, music thumping, data spinning around the room with AI saying one thing, but the caller saying something else. The map's got one location and the phone has another. Or the alarm system says front entrance, but the video feed is buffering and it looks like it's the back entrance. The school app might say lockdown, or the vehicle telematics may say severe crash. The text message comes in and says, I can't talk, while social media rumors are saying something completely different. And somewhere in the middle of this beautifully technological light show sits the call taker trying to figure out desperately what's actually real. That's what I call the fog machine problem. Because the issue is not that there's no information, the issue is that there's too much information without any trust, context, prioritization, and operational discipline. And once that fog machine starts, everything starts to feel urgent. Every alert wants attention. Every system believes that it has the most important information to say, and every dashboard is desperately fighting for screen space. Each vendor wants their data to be front and center, and the human under the headset, well, they're left to sort it all out and in real time. That's not situational awareness, that's situational overload. And when situational overload happens in public safety, the result is not just confusion. The result can be delayed response, wrong response, over response, or under response, increasing responder risk, caller risk, and public trust risk. The human becomes the true filter. So this is where today's episode is going to connect directly with our recent conversation about dispatcher wellness. Because that very same person that we tell to remain calm, follow the protocol, manage through the trauma, and handle that caller, support responders, type notes, and monitor radio traffic, then move right to the next call, is now also expected to become the filter for the machine-generated uncertainty. Dude, that is a huge ask that we're adding on top of someone who's not taking care well enough to do the job they have today. And when we add more data into the ECC, we're not just adding technology, we're adding cognitive load. We're asking that call taker and dispatcher to evaluate competing inputs. Which one of the sources is more trusted? Which one of the data is most current? Which alert is most relevant? And which location is more accurate? And what about the summaries, the video feeds, or automated recommendations that should be followed? Which one matters and which one should be ignored? Oh, and how much time do they really have to figure that all out on the fly? Usually not too much. And that's precisely why system design matters, training matters, policy matters, interface design matters, and data governance matters. And don't forget about source authentication, confidence scoring, and audit trails that all matter as well. Because if we just dump raw data into the ECC and call it innovation, we haven't solved a damn thing. We just moved the burden downstream to someone who isn't equipped to deal with it. We've taken that complexity from the technology and put it right in the lap of the person who's got the least time to deal with it. That's not modernization, that's operational clutter with a broadband connection. Next Generation 911 should help the human make a better decision. It shouldn't turn the human into the last line of defense against every bad integration, stale data set, questionable sensor, automated guess, and vendor dashboard that somebody not in the industry decided to bolt onto the workflows. Reality check. Bad data moves fast. Here's the reality check. Bad data used to move at human speed. Somebody made a call, somebody gave bad info, someone misunderstood something, and someone relayed it. Yeah, that was always dangerous, but now bad data can move at machine speed. A false report will instantly trigger automated workflows. Spoofed or misleading location can populate on a map. Swatting calls get amplified by text, social media, AI summaries, and automated alerting. An automated floor plan can get pushed into an incident, and a stale contact list can send responders over to the wrong person. Camera feeds will show similar looking but the wrong hallway, and panic button alerts will arrive without any context. That's not helpful. And one thing we have to be really careful for, an AI-generated summary can accidentally make an uncertain situation sound much more confirmed. And that last one is especially important, because one of the risks with AI is not that it's always sounding robotic. The risk is that it sounds confident, because that can turn a messy, uncertain, incomplete data set into clean, professional sounding language. And while that can be useful, it can also be dangerous, because a clean summary of bad info is still bad information. It's just wearing a nicer suit, and that's where public safety has got to be extremely careful. We cannot let the system turn assumptions into facts. We can't let automation turn uncertainty into certainty. We can't let a dashboard make weak data look strong, and we can't let the visual polish of modern software start to override the operational judgment of trained professionals. Because displayed doesn't mean true, automated doesn't mean accurate, and fast doesn't mean verified. So more data is not always better. The bottom line. Look, the bottom line's this: NG911 is not a data collection project. What it is a decision support mission. And that difference guides everything we build, buy, connect, integrate, turn on, and trust. The goal's not to show how much information that we can throw at the Emergency Communications Center. No, the goal is to help the ECC understand what's happening, where it's happening, and who's involved. Advise on what the risk is and what response is likely needed. And that means the data needs context. The data needs source identity. That identity needs to be verified or verifiable. And that data needs confidence, freshness, and priority. To accomplish that data needs governance, and it needs to be presented in a way that supports human judgment instead of burying it, because the future ECC shouldn't be a fog machine disco with much better Wi-Fi. No, the future ECC needs to be clear, focused, trusted, and operationally useful. And it's got to be designed around the human things who still have to make life safety decisions when the lights are flashing and the pressure is real. So yes, bring on the data, bring on the video, bring on the text. Got sensor data? Come on in and throw a little AI assistance on top of it with maps, telematics, automation, workflow, and smarter systems. Just don't confuse that fire hose with clarity. Don't confuse the dashboard with awareness. And please, for the love of public safety, don't put the dispatcher in the middle of a fog machine disco and call it innovation. Now, give them tools that reduce uncertainty. Give them systems that earn their trust. Give them workflows that support their judgment. Because in an emergency, communications are critical, but the mission is not more noise. The mission is better decisions. This is Fletch. That's it for this episode of TiPS Today in Public Safety. If this one made you think about your own ECC, your own integrations, your own data sources, or that one dashboard that blinks like it's trying to win the dance contest, share this message with someone that needs to hear it. As always, thanks for listening. Stay safe, and if you're in public safety, thanks for what you do every single day. Take care. Hey, it's Fletch. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you learned something new. Remember to catch all of my previous episodes of TiPS Today in Public Safety, published every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on most social media platforms and streaming 24/7 at 911tips.com. My blogs are located at fletch.tv, and my professional website is at fletch911.com. Remember to like and subscribe. It really helps out the algorithms. And if you're in public safety, thanks for what you do every single day. We'll catch you next time. Take care.
You've been listening to TiPS, Today in Public Safety, your go-to podcast for today's breaking stories and public safety news. Hosted by Fletch and available every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Catch past episodes on 911tips.com. Be sure to like and subscribe, and remember to join us each week for the latest on NG911. I am Spider Harrison, the official 911 voiceover dude. Catch me on Sirius XM on various channels, including 90s on 9, the 10 spot, and on the Weekend Countdown on Hits 1. Or don't regret it for the rest of your life. Either way, I'm good.